Have you ever found yourself lying awake at like 3 in the morning, your brain just endlessly replaying some awkward conversation from 5 years ago? Or maybe you're spinning out a dozen worst-case scenarios for tomorrow? Yeah, we've all been there. It's rough. This universal problem of overthinking can feel like an absolute prison. So welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to explore some truly transformative concepts for finding inner peace, drawn directly from Eckhart Tolle's groundbreaking work, The Power of Now. I want to start by asking you a really direct question. Do you have an off button for your brain? Like, can you just stop thinking whenever you want to? If your answer is no, if you honestly can't stop that involuntary, continuous stream of thoughts, then you aren't actually using your mind. According to the source text, your mind is using you. It's essentially an addiction. Without even realizing it, you've become a slave to this possessing entity. All right, let's dive right into this. Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now isn't just offering your standard light self-help tips, not at all. It objectively diagnoses our incessant, compulsive thinking as a literal disease, a disease that humanity absolutely must overcome. The book suggests that our minds have basically grown into monsters, completely obscuring our true, natural state of peace. Here is our roadmap for this explainer. 1. The beggar's hidden gold. 2. You are not your mind. 3. The emotional pain body. 4. The delusion of time. And 5. Becoming the silent watcher.
Section 1. The beggar's hidden gold.
Tolle kicks things off with this incredibly striking parable. It's about a beggar who's been sitting on an old box by the side of a road for over 30 years. One day, a stranger walks by. The beggar does his usual routine, asking for spare change, but the stranger just stops and asks him what he's sitting on. When the beggar finally pries open the lid, a lid he's ignored for 3 decades, he's absolutely astonished to find the box is completely filled with gold. This is a profound metaphor for us. We're constantly looking to the outside world for little scraps of pleasure, completely unaware that we are already sitting on immense wealth, our own inner peace, and the pure joy of being. Section 2. You are not your mind. You know how the philosopher Descartes famously said, "I think, therefore I am"? Well, Tolle frames this as our most basic fundamental error, the idea that we equate our very existence with our thinking. Notice the sharp contrast between the two states we're looking at here. On one side, we have the mind. It's a survival machine, right? It thrives on the past and the future, constantly creating conflict and disease. But on the other side is our true natural state, being. Being is rooted entirely in the present. It represents deep joy and absolute peace. The reality is, thinking is actually just a tiny, tiny aspect of the vast intelligence of being. So when we make that mistake, when we mistakenly equate our identity with our thinking, we create what Tolle calls the ego. And the ego is basically a phantom. It's a mind-made self. Because it's this fragile fiction, it constantly lives in a state of fear, vulnerability, and lack. To survive, it frantically seeks external things. We're talking possessions, social status, relationships, anything to try and fill this bottomless hole inside. But of course, it's never enough. Section 3. The emotional pain body. Okay, so if the ego is the mind, what about human emotion? Well, according to the text, emotion is simply your physical body's reaction to your mind's relentless activity. And here's the kicker. Every single time you experience emotional pain, it leaves behind a residue. Over a lifetime, this buildup forms what is called the pain body. Think of it as a deeply rooted, almost invisible entity that literally feeds on drama, anger, and further pain just to survive. It cannot feed on joy. It only finds nourishment in more pain. Let's walk through how this builds into a seriously vicious cycle. First, an unconscious negative thought pattern pops up in your mind. Second, your body reflects that thought as a heavy emotion, maybe anger or depression. Third, the vibrational frequency of that emotion feeds energy right back into the original thought pattern, which then, you guessed it, creates even more emotion. They mutually feed off each other to keep the pain body alive and completely in control of your actions. This leads to an analogy that brilliantly illustrates why the mind can never actually solve the problem of emotional pain. You might think you can just analyze your way out of suffering, but the mind itself is the root cause of the problem. It's exactly like a chief of police pretending to hunt down an arsonist, when the chief himself is the one running around lighting the fires. You will literally never think your way out of pain. Section 4. The delusion of time. Now, you might be wondering, if the mind is causing all this pain, how does it maintain such an iron grip on us? Simple. Through the delusion of psychological time. The egoic mind clings desperately to the past because it provides a false identity. Then it projects into the future for an illusion of salvation. That idea that one day, eventually, I'll be happy. As a result, the present moment is entirely ignored or actively resisted as a severe threat to its control. Because we constantly ignore the present, we create what the text calls the anxiety gap. Whenever our physical bodies are living right here in the here and now, but our minds are anxiously projected into the future, a massive gap is formed. And this anxiety gap becomes your constant, stressful companion. The truth is, you can always cope with the present moment, always, but you can never, ever cope with a mind-projected future.
Section 5. Becoming the Silent Watcher.
So what's the fix? How do we actually stop this vicious cycle? Well, Toll offers a highly actionable process for disidentifying from the mind. First step, start listening to that voice in your head impartially. Step 2, do not judge or condemn the thoughts you hear. Just witness them. No good, no bad. Step 3, as you listen, you'll begin to feel a conscious presence, a deeper self existing right behind the thought. And finally, step 4, as the thought loses its power, you'll experience a gap of no mind. In that gap, you officially step into the role of the silent watcher. Now, when those negative emotions or that pain body awaken, you must become this silent watcher. The golden rule here is accept, then act. Whatever the present moment contains, you have to accept it as if you had actively chosen it. By simply observing the emotional pain without judging it, without turning it into some big mental story, you expose the pain to the light of your consciousness. And just as you can't fight the dark, you cannot fight the pain body. But exposing it to the light of your conscious presence actually transmutes that suffering into peace. I want to leave you with this final, highly provocative thought directly from the text. Die before you die, and find that there is no death. Look, stripping away your false, mind-made ego might feel incredibly scary at first. Actually, it might literally feel like a kind of death. But if you can challenge yourself today to just drop the mental noise, observe your mind, and step fully into the true power of the now, you will discover an indestructible reality within yourself. You already have the treasure box. You just have to look inside. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.